Hello and welcome to ScreenBlitz, the weekly film and television show dedicated to giving you all the top news, views, reviews, previews, features, opinions, and more. I'm your host Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton, or you can go thoughtsbygrant.wordpress.com for all of my written reviews. This week, we're doing things a little differently, because usually I present this in one long episode, and you're still going to get that, just it's going to be on a Friday instead. If you're watching this on a Monday, that means you're watching part 1 of the show, which is dedicated to the news. Part 2, which is dedicated to the featured topic of the week, which this week is my most anticipated films of 2018, still to come. Then you'll be watching it on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'll be posting my reviews of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Unsane, and The Death of Superman. We'll see how that goes. More shorter, more focused content. We'll see what happens with that. But you can still get the full episode on the Friday starting this week. Or if you want to watch this show a little earlier, you can go to twitch.tv/the_Grant Burton and watch it live every Saturday starting next Saturday. That's right, live on Twitch. As it happens, as this train wreck of a show falls apart right in front of your eyes. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but yeah. On Twitch, you can get involved, get me some questions, topics, concerns. You can follow me there as well. Or if you're watching on YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed, gave me a thumbs up, shared this across social media, helped me build my audience. With 100 subscribers, I get a custom URL, which is far better than the one I have at the minute, because it's just really long, confusing, and annoying. It's not very easy to share. So yeah, let's get on with part 1 of the show, which is the news. Item number 1 from Justin Kroll at Variety. Robert De Niro is in talks to join Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie. Sources say De Niro would be portraying a talk show host who plays a part in driving Phoenix's character to go mad and become the clown prince of crime. According to insiders, the script has ties to De Niro's film King of Comedy, about a failing comedian who kidnaps a popular talk show host to gain fame. In this case, the roles would be reversed, with De Niro playing the smug host. So, this is significant news because Robert De Niro, I don't think, has ever done a superhero or comic book film. So, one of the big selling points of this film for Joaquin Phoenix and everyone involved is that it's more of a crime drama than a superhero action film. And I think that's one of the reasons Robert De Niro might be interested in it. And if this were the Robert De Niro of, say, 20 years ago, it would add some legitimacy to it. But let's face it, Robert De Niro not always taken that seriously anymore. He does a lot of comedies, a lot of bad films now. But still a good actor, I suppose. So yeah, we'll see how this turns out. Item number 2. No, not item number 2, because again I'm having problems. This gets on my nerves. Mike Fleming Jr. from Deadline says a remake of Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon has Deadpool 2's David Leitch in talks. It might be David Leitch, I don't know. But David Leitch is a good director. He's a former stuntman as well. He knows how to do action scenes and choreography. So, a good guy to do this film, but the question is, how do you remake Enter the Dragon without Bruce Lee? This is Bruce Lee's defining role. I believe it was released after he died as well. And you can't find a replacement for Bruce Lee, at least not easily. Yeah, you can get someone in there that knows Kung Fu and martial arts, but Bruce Lee was more than that. He was much more of an icon and a character. So, you can't just throw anyone in this role and expect it to work, I don't think. But David Leitch, he's a good filmmaker, he's got some good films under his belt, and if anyone can do it, he's one of the guys that probably can. But it won't be the same without Bruce Lee. I think Jackie Chan also had a small role in Enter the Dragon, so maybe get him in there, for the sake of paying homage to it and a callback to the original. Next up, Michael Schneider at IndieWire says the night of Season 2, HBO wants it, but they're waiting on co-creator Steven Zaillian. The Night Of is one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's a mini series. I think it had 8 episodes, 2 of which were feature length. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. This is a must-watch show for anyone who's interested in crime drama TV. Visually, it's one of the best shows I've ever looked at. Narratively, character-wise, it's really, really good. Every character is just really interesting and fascinating. And yeah, I don't think I need a second season. I think it'll be like True Detective in that you do a second season with new characters, new location, new crime, and it just won't be the same. It won't be quite as good. So I think it's risky doing a second season, but it could be good. It could be interesting at the least. Number 4. Also from Michael Schneider at IndieWire, HBO will only move forward with one Game of Thrones spin-off for now. So Game of Thrones coming to an end next year. It's rumored to be early next year as well now. The first spin-off is a prequel and it's entering production at the end of this year. Well, the pilot's entering production at the end of this year. We don't know yet if it's actually going to become a full-fledged series. And it's got Jane Goldman and George R.R. Martin attached. So the fact that George R.R. Martin's attached to it, that's got me a good thumbs up. And I've got hope in that because I think George R.R. Martin is a brilliant writer. One of my favourite writers of all time. I love the books. The books are far better than the TV show, by the way. But there's plenty of stuff from the books and the supplemental books and materials that have not been adapted. There's tons of flashbacks and other events mentioned in the books that just could not make it into the TV show. So there's plenty of material for spin-off shows in the Game of Thrones universe. That being said, we don't want too much Game of Thrones. A lot of people have grown a little tired of it, the fact that it is 8 seasons now. Perhaps take a little break. You don't need to rush out with a sequel or a spin-off or a prequel. There is such a thing as too much Game of Thrones. So moving on, next story. Oh god, I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but I'll give it a go anyway. Hoi Tan Bui from Slash Film. Batman Hush will lead DC's 2019 slate of animated films. Batman Hush is one of 4 original DCU animated films announced at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend, which include The Reign of Superman, Justice League vs. The Fatal Five, and Wonder Woman Bloodlines. So, interesting how in this announcement there's no mention of the DC streaming service. I think this is a little bit of a mistake to not have these films go straight to that service, because it needs content, it needs regular content and updates. I'm sure these will probably end up there eventually, but it seems like a little bit of a misstep to not just put them straight on there like a Netflix would. But yeah, I understand them. They're wanting to release them on home media, they want to get a wider audience. So yeah, I get that. But as for what they're adapting, Hush is one of Batman's best novels. Personally, I think it's just alright, but it does get a really good reception generally from the audience. It's a fascinating one to say the least, and yeah, it would make a pretty good film, I think, although it would rely a little on knowing your Batman lore and characters. Next up, the big news item of the week, and I was absolutely amazed. Well, not so much amazed because I knew it was coming, but over the moon with this news. Deadwood is back. This is from Chris Evangelista at Slash Film. The Deadwood movie is finally officially happening. Yay! Deadwood is my favorite show of all time. Plain and simple. I love this show. It's one of the few shows that I can watch over and over again, and I can still get the enjoyment out of it that I did the first time watching it, but also where I'm like noticing little things and subtle differences and thinking, I didn't realize that the first time, or I didn't realize that the second or third time. It's really well written, really good show. Very adult though. A lot of sex and nudity, a lot of bad language, really bad language as well. So this show is not for everyone, but without a doubt one of HBO's best, and cancelled far too early because it was costing them too much to make and the ratings weren't quite where they wanted them. When the show was cancelled 12 years ago, They originally said they were going to do 2 TV movies to wrap things up. For whatever reason, those never came about. And then, yeah, it seemed like Deadwood was dead. All the actors had moved on, the creators went and done different things. David Milch done the TV show Look, which didn't last very long. He also done John from Cincinnati, which wasn't very good. But yeah, Deadwood didn't look like anything was going to happen with that show ever again. And 12 long, long years ever, it's actually happening. We are getting a TV movie, and it's starting production at the end of this year with an air date sometime next year. So I can't wait for that. But one little disappointment is that sadly actor Powers Booth passed away last year. I think it was last year, yeah. And he's one of the main characters in Deadwood. He's certainly one of the best characters in Deadwood. But you could certainly do the show without him. I don't think he's quite integral anymore, but he will be missed. And I hope they at least acknowledge him in the show. I mean, they're going to have to acknowledge a lot of things, because 12 years, they're not just going to be able to continue it as if this is like the next day from the last episode. They're going to have to do a time jump. So a lot of the characters, I think, in this Deadwood movie will probably be dead. Yeah. But yeah, it's a shame Powers Booth can't be a part of this, because it's probably his best role ever. And he was a good actor. Rest in peace. Talking about reboots or revivals, Nelly Andreeva at Deadline says a Frasier reboot is being explored by Kelsey Grammer and CBS TV Studios. Rumors suggest it will star Grammer in the titular role, and it will be set in a new city. So, Frasier is one of the best comedies ever made, plain and simple. It's really funny. It lost its way a little towards the end, maybe it went a little too long, but for a spin-off show, it was really good. The original Cheers is probably on par with it, I would say. I'm not that keen on the first few seasons of Cheers, but Frasier, really good, fascinating new characters. David Hyde Pierce is brilliant as Niles. I believe he was nominated for an Emmy every season of that show, but I could be wrong. But yeah, a Frasier reboot, it won't be the same, especially if it's not made by the same people, which it doesn't sound like it will be. If David Hyde Pierce isn't going to be in it in some form, that's just a really big mistake, because he was brilliant in Frasier. And obviously we won't have John Mahoney in it. He sadly passed away not too long ago, which is another shame. But yeah, this is a really big risk. How do you reboot or do a sequel or spin-off to one of the greatest shows ever with a different cast and crew? It's going to be challenging, but it has been done before. Frasier itself was a spin-off, like I've mentioned, and that worked out really well. So maybe this can do it, maybe not. Either way, I'm not entirely sure if I want it. I don't think I need more Frasier, but it would be nice to get Kelsey Grammer back in a major role again, because he's only popped up here and there in small like TV shows that haven't really been hits, and he's done a couple of films as well. Nothing too major or successful. Amanda Nduka at Deadline says Charlie's Angels reboot or remake. Kristen Stewart, Naomi Scott confirmed with Ella Balinska set to star in Elizabeth Banks' directed reboot. Elizabeth Banks is also playing Bosley, the employer, and that's a significant thing because in 2018 a straight up remake or reboot of Charlie's Angels probably wouldn't work too well. And because it's about basically three what's meant to be like attractive, sexy spies working for this mysterious, almost like Hugh Hefnerish guy. Now I should point out now I've never actually seen Charlie's Angels, so maybe he's not a Hugh Hefnerish guy, but I get the vibe that it's a little creepy, and in 2018, that's probably not wise to work on. So putting Elizabeth Banks in that role probably gets rid of that a little. And what's interesting is who they've cast in it, because out of the three leads who you're seeing right there, Kristen Stewart is probably Is it Kristen Stewart? Yeah, Kristen Stewart. She's probably the biggest star of the three. The other one in the middle was recently in the Power Rangers movie. That's kind of all I know her from. So, yeah, why haven't they cast three big name stars? That seems like a risky move. And I don't know who the other one is, sadly. Could be great actresses. In fact, I know one of them at the very least is. But yeah, they interesting not to go for big name stars. Final story, and to end this part of the show, Mike Fleming Jr. at Deadline says that Ryan Reynolds is to produce a revised version of Home Alone entitled Stoned Alone. It centers around a 20-something weed-growing loser who misses the plane for his holiday ski trip. He makes the best of things by getting high. Paranoia sets in and he believes he hears someone break into his house. Turns out thieves have broken in. Fully stoned and fueled by paranoia, he tries to thwart the thieves and defend his castle. So, Home Alone, my favorite Christmas film. I try to watch it every year. I don't actually watch it every year, but I do like to give it a go. And yeah, you can't do a straight up remake. They tried to do that with like Home Alone 3. Didn't work. And what, there's like 6 films in this franchise now or something like that. Only the first 2 are good. And yeah, you have to do something different if you want to keep this alive. And noticeably, it doesn't say that Ryan Reynolds is actually starring in it. I imagine he is, but it doesn't say that. And this is going to be pretty much what you expect. It will be a goofy stoner movie with probably cheap jokes and little weird, funny laughs here and there. It's going to be nothing like the original. Doesn't even say if it's going to be a Christmas movie, although it does say a holiday ski trip, so maybe it is. And I don't want this film at all. I'm probably not going to see it unless it ends up being like, what was it, like some of The Rock's recent films, Welcome to the Jungle, Jumanji, where they've actually been decent reboots or revivals. But what they should do here is bring back Macaulay Culkin. That would be great. If Macaulay Culkin has some sort of role in this film, that would be brilliant. It would be hilarious. But I'm not sure if they'll do that. Maybe they will. I don't know. He doesn't do much these days, acting-wise. And that's all I've got for the news. But there was one big breaking news topic that came out last night, which I hadn't had time to add to the show, so I'm going to briefly talk about it. They announced the cast for Star Wars Episode 9 last night, and the usual expected people are back. John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson and Adam Driver. They're all back as you would expect. The interesting stuff comes next though. Billy D. Williams has finally been confirmed to be in it, which is great. Talked about that multiple times now, so I'm not going to go on about that again. Mark Hamill is back. Spoilers, he's probably going to be portraying a Force Ghost, so don't know how big his role is, but yeah. Bring back the proper Luke Skywalker, not the one we had in The Last Jedi. Great performance in The Last Jedi, just not my Luke Skywalker. And then the really surprising one is Carrie Fisher is back in it. Now, they're not going to recast Princess Leia. That would be a huge mistake, and I just would not be able to support that, because I love Carrie Fisher. And the other thing is, they can't use CGI because that was criticized in Rogue One. They've said they wouldn't use CGI. So how are they bringing it back? Well, they are using unused footage from The Force Awakens to bring her character back in some form. I imagine this means they're going to digitally remove her from certain scenes and then add her into certain scenes in this upcoming film. In which case you could end up with having just Carrie Fisher standing there in the background looking busy or whatever. Yeah, it's something. It's tough because you have to work with the material that you've got. It reminds me a little of Gladiator. There was the actor in that film whose name escapes me right now, who he died halfway through production, so they had to do some trickery to finish off the work that he'd done there. But yeah, there could be like body doubles in certain scenes where people are talking to Princess Leia, but it's not actually her, but we don't see that. They could end up like digitally adding her head or face to another actor, which might be borderline what they're trying to avoid with the CGI stuff, but it could work. As long as they give her a good send off, I'm all for it. I don't want her character to simply vanish. I don't want her character to die either. Yeah, I think that would be in poor taste at this point. But moving on to trailers, the final part of this part of the show, because I forgot about that when I mentioned it earlier. Deadly Class, based on the graphic novels, I believe. I've never read the graphic novels, so I don't really know much about the show or the novels themselves, but it's made by the Russo brothers, who done Avengers Infinity War as well as Captain America Civil War and Winter Soldier, so it's great to have them back in TV. Before that, I think they worked on Community. I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain I'm right. So they've been in TV before, they're great directors, they know what they're doing, they've touched on action in a big way now, and this show, I don't know what it's about. Looks like it's high school assassins or something like that, and it looks weird. It doesn't really explain itself very well, this trailer, but if you like the graphic novel, maybe you'll like this. The only reason that this is notable for me is because it's the Russo brothers. So yeah, check it out. It looks interesting. It just doesn't really explain what the show is exactly. Final trailer, and now the official final part of the show, is Alita Battle Angel. This is also based on a graphic novel, or manga is the correct term, I believe. So the film looks fine. It looks like a fairly generic science fiction action movie. The thing that stood out to me is the weird CGI, and you're seeing it there. The CGI to make this character just looks weird. It does not look real. I'm not sure if it's meant to be real, but everyone else in the film is just live action, whereas this character seems to be the only one that's got like really manga googly eyes, and it just looks really odd and out of place, and I hope there's a storyline reason as to why it looks this way, and that they're not just trying to recreate the look of the manga, because that would just be odd. So Alita Battle Angel, very well liked graphic novel or manga. I've actually read the original, a little bit of it anyway. It's not for me. I think there's a lot of big films coming out this year. This film's going to get lost in the crowd. I don't think it's been marketed very well so far. I think more than likely this is going to bomb, sadly. And that's the news for this week. If you've liked what you've seen, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. Seriously, subscribe. 100 subscribers, that's my current goal. Gets me a custom URL, makes it easier for me to share and spread the word about this channel and all the products and content I want to make. If you don't want to subscribe, then give me a thumbs up. That would be great too. Leave a comment down below. I'll get to it next week or throughout the week if it's not good enough to be on the show. And what else? Share this across social media. If you don't like it, someone else might. So let them know about it. Help me reach a wider audience. That would be very, very appreciated. But I'm Grant Burton. This is the news. But if you're watching the full show, it's time to move on to the big topic. But I will be back in literally 5 seconds, hopefully, because I forgot to get my drink. So, I'm back. This is the big topic of the week, and we are about to enter August. If you're watching this, it might actually already be August. In fact, it probably will be. And there's less of the year to come than what there already has been. So I thought it would be a good time to look ahead at what's left to come into the cinemas. So these are my most anticipated films of 2018 still to come. Christopher Robin. Don't seem to be able to say that very well. Christopher Robin. There, that's it. Got it. So this is a Winnie the Pooh film, or a Winnie the Pooh sequel, basically, because he's all grown up now, Christopher Robin. And the trailers of this very nostalgic. The voice acting, they've just nailed it. I think it is, for the most part, the actual voice actors from the original animated, was it animated TV show or animated films? I don't know. I've never been a huge Winnie the Pooh fan. But yeah, they've nailed the look of the characters, the tone. It reminds me a lot of like Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, like just feel good classic Disney films. And yeah, looking forward to this. It looks interesting and fun. What was the race? Saving Mr. Banks. That was probably the last Disney film that really tapped into the classic style of Disney film storytelling. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. The Happy Time Murders. I mean, I haven't even seen the trailer for this. I know I'm gonna like this. It's Melissa McCarthy and Muppets. Not actual Muppets, because they probably can't get the rights to them, but puppets that look like Muppets, or puppets in the style of Muppets. I don't really know what the correct term is. Not that it matters though. But I love Muppets, I love puppets. Melissa McCarthy's a very funny a very funny woman, and yeah, I'm sold on this before even seeing anything about it. And it's R-rated as well, so that's going to be really interesting. This could be a disaster of a film, I really don't know. Maybe I should watch the trailers, maybe I should actually check them out, but right now I just love the idea of it. The Predator. I spoke about this in past weeks, so I'm not going to go too far with it, but it's Shane Black. I like Shane Black. Looks like it's got a great cast. It's said to be really funny from some of the early footage shown at San Diego Comic-Con. Very action-packed, and yeah, if you like the Predator films, or at least the first one, it looks like it's really tapping into what defined those ones. And now Venom. Venom is interesting because it's a Spider-Man spin-off that's not spinning off from a Spider-Man film, and it looks fun. It looks like it's going to be a action-packed superhero-ish film, but you just can't ignore the lack of Spider-Man. That's going to be a huge distraction in this film. I don't think he has the white spider on his chest, so of course he wouldn't if Spider-Man doesn't exist in this universe. So that's going to cause some controversy. If you're a big fan of Venom or Spider-Man, you're probably not going to like certain elements of this adaptation. And yeah, I'm more curious about this film than interested. So we'll see how it does. Halloween. I've only ever seen the first Halloween film, and that's all you need to see to watch this upcoming one, because this is a sequel to that film. It's ignoring everything that followed it. And that's smart, because particularly with big ongoing franchises like this, it can be hard to find the good entry point. So this is a reboot slash sequel to the very original Halloween film. John Carpenter's producing it, and he's also doing the score for it. So that's brilliant, because John Carpenter is a really good filmmaker. He's done some pretty naff films over the years. I think his last actual good film was probably Big Trouble in Little China, which is one of my favourite films, but the film underperformed, and he said he was leaving the Hollywood studio system after that. Although the Hollywood studio system technically not in effect at that point. So yeah, maybe he didn't use those words exactly. But yeah. So I can't remember who's directing it, but it's written by Danny McBride, which is really interesting. The guy known for Eastbound and Down, and has appearances in other comedy films and TV shows, most recently Vice Principals. So yeah, from what people have been saying about this, it sounds brilliant. There's apparently a 6-minute long take, a single shot sequence in this, which is absolutely awesome apparently. And yeah, it's meant to be really scary. Yeah, check this out. It could be really good. The Grinch. I wasn't sure if I was going to add this in here, but the first trailer for this came out and it's completely silent, I believe. I don't think you hear anyone speak or make a noise. And I liked the look of the animation. Looks really interesting and fun. I like how it is animated. I really didn't like the Jim Carrey film that much. And Benedict Cumberbatch I thought would have been a brilliant Grinch. It looks very funny. And then they released the second trailer, and this is where I was like, I'm not too sure anymore, because Benedict Cumberbatch, rather than putting on his usual deep voice, is doing a really high-pitched, squeaky voice, and it's really odd, and doesn't sound like the Grinch that I would want. I thought it would have been funnier if he was really deep speaking and depressing, but no, it looks like he's much more energetic and annoying. But yeah, this could be interesting. The Girl in the Spider's Web. So the first trailer was released not too long ago, and it's a brilliant trailer. And noticeably, I don't think it's continuing on from the David Fincher film, and it's not continuing on from the original Swedish films, which are brilliant films. Check them out if you can. So this is kind of its own thing. It's a reboot in a way. Claire Foy looks like she's putting on a hell of a performance, although I was a little disappointed that they didn't go that far with her actual look. They didn't cut her hair significantly to give her like a mohawk or anything. They didn't go crazy with the makeup or the piercings. And yeah, that seems like a missed opportunity there, and a little bit of a mistake. But noticeably in the first trailer, she's using a accent, because the character, Lisbeth Salander, is supposed to be Swedish. And in the original Swedish versions, she's played by Noomi Rapace, who is Swedish. And why not just cast a Swedish person in this role? Like Claire Foy, big name. She's not exactly a huge superstar yet, but she's becoming that, I would say. And yeah, I'd much rather see Noomi Rapace in this role, because I loved her in the original Swedish versions. I thought her performance in them films was brilliant. Rooney Mara was also good in the David Fincher film. But yeah, Claire Foy looks like it's a good performance, just not entirely sure why she's being cast over a Swedish person. And visually the film looks absolutely stunning. I can't fault the way the film looks, and it looks like it's going to be really fun and entertaining. And I should note I haven't read any of the books either, so who knows, if this is a bad book adaptation, maybe it's not going to be that good. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, or Grindelwald, I think it's pronounced like that. So it's back in Hogwarts, that's great. The first Fantastic Beasts films didn't really capture the spirit of the Harry Potter films, and I think it's mainly because it didn't go to the locations, it didn't get like the heart of it. And also, Newt Scamander, I can't fault Eddie Redmayne as an actor, he's a good actor, but Newt Scamander, the character, just isn't that interesting to me. He's more annoying than endearing, and I hope he's not the main character in all of these films, but I think he will be. So yeah, that's a big turn off for me, that I don't like the main character. Another turn off for me is that Johnny Depp is playing Grindelwald. This is a turn off, not so much because of the whole Johnny Depp beats up his wife situation, although that is a big problem, and I'm surprised they kept him in the film, but more the look of the character. I do not think Johnny Depp is right for this role. He just looks really odd and bizarre. And yeah, I know he's the villain of the film, they've got to give him a unique look, but I think they went a little too far with this. And yeah, casting wise, I think it was a mistake to have him in this role. But Dumbledore's back, so that's something. And he's played by Jude Law, so great casting there. And going by the trailers, ignoring the fact that it's Newt Scamander in the lead role and ignoring the fact that it's Johnny Depp, the film looks pretty fun. It's primarily set in Paris, I believe. And yeah, we do go back to Hogwarts, like I said. So, final film that I'm looking forward to this year is Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse. The first trailer for this was absolutely brilliant. This is probably one of my favorite trailers of all time. The actual animated style of this film is awesome. Like, I don't think I've seen anything quite like it before. It's really interesting, really stunning and unique. And I think that's going to be the big selling point of this. So, my concern, well, firstly, the film, it looks funny, it looks entertaining, action-packed, it looks everything you want from a Spider-Man film. The concern is that how many Spider people are in this, because you've got Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy. They've announced that Spider-Man Noir's in it, and I think there's a couple of others in there as well. And I think maybe they're going a little overboard, a little too many Spider-Men and Spider people in this film, to the point where you're going to have some sort of knowledge about the greater Spider-Man mythos and lore in order to understand what the hell's going on, probably. But maybe not. Maybe they'll do a good job of actually explaining it in the film. But Spider-Man's had this problem before in Spider-Man 3 and in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they just crammed a little too much in there. Well, in Spider-Man 3's case, far too much. So yeah, please don't fall into that trap. This looks really good. Don't let it down. And that's the big topic of the week. I'm Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _GrantBurton, or you can go to forcedbygrant.wordpress.com for all of my written reviews. This is only part 2 of the show. If you haven't watched part 1, go back and do that. If you want to watch part 3, that'll be up tomorrow. Or if you want to watch the full show, you can go on Friday. Or if you don't want to wait till Friday, you can watch this live on twitch.tv/the_GrantBurton every Saturday at approximately 11 a.m.-ish. I say 11 a.m.-ish. It changes every week, it just depends. But yeah, you can watch live, get involved, send me questions, comments and concerns. Really just hang out with me as I'm talking about film and TV. Yeah, that's about it. Moving on to reviews. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5. If you watched the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you were put off, I completely understand. It really didn't get that good until like episode 17 when it tied into Captain America the Winter Soldier. From that point on, it's been hitting the ground running, and it's been just a really good show. Maybe the seasons are a little too long, 22 episodes is quite a bit. And I think this season is the first one since the first season that's kind of struggled a little with the 22 episodes. And noticeably this season was designed to be the final season. You can tell everywhere you look, they're just wrapping up storylines and finishing off character arcs and so on and so forth. And if this wasn't renewed for a 6th season, this would have been perfectly fine to end the show with. So, too many episodes. To make up for the 22 episode seasons, from the 2nd season onwards, they split the seasons into 2 chunks. So the first half is about one thing, the second half is about another, and there's usually like some branching of storylines to connect them. This is the first time I think where that hasn't quite worked that well. We're going into some light spoilers here. It's more about the premise of the show. The first like 10 episodes, they are zapped into the future. You don't really know why, that's the whole point of the show. But in the future, the Earth has been destroyed, and they are living in space. There are aliens and mysterious things going on all around them. And yeah, this isn't a spoiler because you know exactly what the show is going to be about. But the whole point of the first half of the season is finding out what's going on and then getting back to the present. So then the second half of the season is all about trying to prevent the future. And you don't really know all the answers at this point, like what caused the Earth to get destroyed. Although there are some questions and mysteries surrounding it. And the problem is a lot of these just aren't quite that interesting. The characters in this season start becoming a little frustrating, particularly Yo-Yo, who's just complaining and moaning at every corner and turn that she takes. And yeah, sometimes it's a little repetitive. This season is the first season where I've really noticed the budget limitations. You can tell that they're filming scenes on like the same corridor that's just being redesigned and covered up. You can tell that half of it's in a warehouse, which is fine, it's a TV show, but it's really noticeable this season, and everything just looks a little bland. So, slight spoilers now. If you do not want any spoilers for Avengers Infinity War or this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., perhaps stop listening, jump ahead to my next review. Avengers Infinity War, a huge event. How was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going to tie into it? Well, it turns out it wasn't. Yeah, the final few episodes has made clear that the events of these final few episodes are happening concurrently with Avengers Infinity War. The problem is that the events of Avengers Infinity War never actually matter to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we don't know how the events of Avengers Infinity War impacts the characters of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, presumably in Season 6 we'll find out, but it's like, at that point will we really care? Because Season 6 not coming out, I would say, until towards the end of 2019. So yeah, a little bit of a mistake on that front. But yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, a good final season. It's not the final though, because there is going to be another one. But yeah, a good season of the show. Unsane. So, the noticeable thing about Unsane that you'll probably know going into it is that it was filmed entirely on an iPhone, and you can tell. Not only because the aspect ratio is narrower, but because there's a lot of unique shots, the lighting's not brilliant in certain areas, but it really does give this an immersive, stylish look and feel. You feel like you're there, you feel like this is almost like a found footage film or a documentary. And in many ways it reminded me of the Danish film movement Dogma 95. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. I really can't be bothered to explain it right now. But yeah, Claire Foy in the lead role is brilliant. She plays a very unlikable character, or a dislikable character. Which one of them is a real word? But yeah, she's good in the lead role. You find her fascinating and interesting despite the fact that she's not a nice person. The circumstances in which she's put in that she's involuntarily put into this mental hospital and they won't let her leave. That's the whole idea and premise of this. I'm not going to say anything more because there are twists and turns, there are surprises, and it's really fascinating. I suggest you watch it. It's a good, very enjoyable film. It's only an hour and a half as well. You rarely get films that long these days, especially ones that are really good. But yeah, a really well directed, well acted film. I like the way it was made with an iPhone. Very impressive. Plenty of twists and turns. Very fun and enjoyable. Maybe it takes a little too long to actually get into things. I think it's like 20 minutes or so before she actually gets to the hospital. And now we're getting into a little spoilers. If you want my full thoughts on this, you can go to falsebackground.wordpress.com because I did write a full review. But spoilers now. There is a glaring plot hole in this film. At least I think it's a plot hole. I didn't notice them trying to explain it. I didn't notice them trying to come up with some sort of excuse as to how this happened. But basically, Claire Foy's character, she's afraid of her stalker. She moves across the state or across the country to get away from her stalker. She does have a restraining order against him. Everywhere she goes, the reason she goes to this mental hospital because she's seeing him everywhere. She's paranoid and she's scared. So she goes to this mental hospital. She gets involuntarily locked inside it for treatment, and next thing you know, she's seeing this stalker everywhere. And here's the big spoiler, so you've been warned. It turns out the stalker actually is in the hospital. He actually works there. So the plot hole here is that it doesn't explain how he got the job here. It doesn't explain how coincidental this all is, how she just so happened to go to this mental hospital, the one that he's working at. Did he get a job there after she was assigned there? Because he doesn't show up until afterwards. Or was he already working there? In which case, how did he know she would go there? How did he even get a job here? Turns out he does steal an identity, but it's all very convenient, very suspicious. They really don't do a good job of explaining it. But yeah, if you can overlook this little point, it's a very fun and enjoyable film. But this is a little distracting and a little annoying for what is a good film. Final review, The Death of Superman. This is an animated film, straight to home video, and it's based on a classic graphic novel. I believe it was released in 1992, but I could be wrong with that. Graphic novels and comics aren't my expertise, although I do read them. And the film isn't great. It's not bad by any means, it's just not good. The problem is that the film relies so much on you having some sort of knowledge or experience with the DC universe already. You need to know who the characters are, what's already happened, what's being hinted at. Otherwise, you won't have a clue what's going on. So, the film's about basically Doomsday comes from space, crashes into the planet, and causes chaos. And the Justice League try to stop him. They fail. Superman, for reasons that aren't explained very well and just feel really just silly, he doesn't show up until later to save the day, or try to save the day, and he has this huge fight with Doomsday. And spoilers, it's in the title, you know exactly what's going to happen. And that's a big problem, is that you know exactly what's going to happen because of the title of the film. He dies at the end. Yeah, that shouldn't be a surprise. Superman dies at the end, and the big problem with the film is that it is just one big fight. It's just chaos. Very little story going on there, very little character development. It relies on you already knowing who the characters are. And I do know all the characters. I know certain things about this, but it feels like this is a sequel to a bunch of films that have already happened, and maybe it is, but I was always under the impression that these DC films were loosely connected and not actually a series. But there are hints that there's going to be a sequel to this. I mentioned earlier in the news, in part 1 of the show, that there is a upcoming Superman film coming out next year. Hopefully that's going to be a sequel to this and to actually flesh certain things out. But yeah, if you like big action animated films, give this a go. If you're a big fan of the original graphic novel, give it a try. But yeah, The Death of Superman, very average film. Another problem with it is that this is a story that's been told quite a few times before already now, and most recently in Batman v Superman, which it wasn't told very well. Here, it's still not told very well. I don't really see the point in this. It's been told better before. It's been told in other ways before. Why have we gotten this adaptation now when it's not all that different from what's came before, and it's not really doing anything special or unique or interesting? But yeah, if you like DC, you might like this. Voice acting wise, it's fine for the most part. I really liked Rainn Wilson as Lex Luthor. He's a cross between like the more serious, intelligent Lex Luthor and the more goofy Lex Luthor that we get from Jesse Eisenberg. So I liked how he kind of bridges the gap of that and does something a little more unique and interesting, at least from what I've seen. And the actress who plays Lois Lane, I believe it was Rebecca Romijn. I can't fault her as an actress, but I think she was wrong for this part. I can't quite explain it, but she sounded older and more mature and serious than the character should be, I feel. But yeah, Death of Superman, give it a go if you want. I wouldn't highly recommend it though. And that's the show this week. If you haven't watched part 1 and 2 of the show, well, you can check them out. I've uploaded them into different chunks on YouTube. Or you can wait till Friday to get the full show in its entirety. But if you don't want to wait till Friday every week, you can go to twitch.tv/the_Grant Burton and watch it live. Get involved in the show. Chat to me, hang out with me, see this train wreck as it happens. Hopefully it won't be that much of a train wreck when I actually start doing it. If you like what you've seen, you can subscribe to me. That would be absolutely brilliant. 100 subscribers gets me a custom URL. Give me a thumbs up. Share this across social media. Any support you want to give me would really be appreciated. If you don't like it, maybe you know someone else who does. You know someone called Barry? Tell him I'm talking about him. Tell him to come check this out. Tell him I'm taking the mick out of him. Yeah. Go tell Barry to watch the show. You know someone. I bet you do. But I'm Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton, or you can go to forcedbygrant.wordpress.com for all of my written reviews. Until next time, I'm out.